So what about the idea about judges depriving a person of due process under the color of law, which is a federal crime?
It's also a major felony in Texas.
And how many judges have actually been prosecuted, convicted, had charges?
Well,
like that?
this is one of the issues that we see at the federal level too. I believe it's a serious problem in our concept of governance. What are the checks and balances among the three branches, and what are the checks on the judiciary? Right. One of the checks on the judiciary is the prosecutorial power of the executive, which is just not being used against courts. It just isn't being used. Let me tell you one reason that it's very difficult, even if you wanted to lead prosecutions against judges, well, it would be very difficult. Judges control the record. Judges can just tell the court reporter to stop recording.
Which should be, yeah.
They can not allow videotaping of the trial.
Yeah.
They can do these kinds of things.
And it's not to guard privacy, it's so that nobody knows how badly
that is correct.
They are.
But this is one thing where people could have a big impact. If, for example, let's say I go to trial on October 15th to the 17th.
Okay. So you need court watchers.
Yes.
I'll be there.
The more people that show up and watch these courts,
but I'll get people to be there.
The more people that observe, the more witnesses there are to any possible misconduct. And judges' behavior radically changes when there are witnesses. Right.
And you know, you're absolutely correct about this. Now, I've only done court watching for a couple of people, but I said, okay, I can work this in. And it was amazing the things that had happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I had one judge that, I don't know whether he knew me or not. I think he probably did, but I may be off on this. But he was staring at me the entire time, and I was there. Go ahead and stare away because I've got your number too. you know, and then you know another friend, the same thing happened. It was really bad. But we had maybe 6 to 8 people go there. So now they all know we're there watching. We
you know, this is one thing, and I really would like to say this too. This is important knowledge that I didn't know this, so I got to know this.
Right.
We have open courts in this country.
Right.
You have a right, a citizen's right, to observe your trial, your courts in action, and to see if they're being just to your fellow citizens. And if you don't go and watch federal courts, if you don't go and watch the family courts, go watch some civil trials with businesses, go visit some criminal.
Yeah.
The other thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is that being on a jury is not a duty. We call it jury duty. It's not a duty. It's a right of citizens to apply the law fairly to their fellow citizens. It is a right that you possess. If you want to serve on a jury, you can go straight down to the county, and when you walk in, tell them I'm volunteering for jury duty. They will treat you like a king for volunteering for jury duty.
Well, that's interesting too.
They will, you know, they'll give you drinks and sit you down and treat you completely different from everybody else who was forced to come in.
Yeah.
Because it's not a duty, it's a right of you.
Yeah.
And what you're doing when you're a juror is you're taking the statutes and applying it to a specific situation with one of your fellow citizens, and in making sure the government is treating them fairly and making sure the citizen receives justice or punishment under the law according to the customs of your own local area. It is a huge right, and we don't avail ourselves of it enough.
Which we should be doing. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So you're talking about the whole thing with the justice system. What about attorneys, lawyers who get elected to the legislature, who write laws today that may benefit them tomorrow? Or who maybe the Texas Anti-Family Law Foundation would love to have this person in there because we need to have our ace in the card to sabotage bills or to insert our language in there in a certain way. So you actually have a person who should be either defending or whatever before a court, actually making laws. Do you see any type of perhaps violation of a separation of powers doctrine there? I mean, even though they're elected as a representative, but to me, the idea of the conflict of interest is is a big concern to me. I understand that
it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
It was contemplated both in the debates that led up to the Texas Constitution, and is definitely contemplated in the Federalist Papers. So I'm gonna, you can see over here, there's Socrates, as we know him through Plato, asked in the Republic, asked the assembled men who were there, who was discussing this with. He asked them, he was asked, what if I don't want to participate in politics? And Socrates says, well, then you'll be punished. And the guy says, why? What are you talking about being punished? I mean, there's no punishment. I don't have to deal with this bullshit.
Yeah.
And he says, no.
You'll be punished.
You'll be punished to be ruled by men who are inferior to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So look, the future belongs to people who show up.
Yeah. That's something to remember. The future belongs to those who show up.
It's very simple.
And that's the scary part too, because the people that are showing up right now in Austin are the people that are pushing these radical left-wing agendas. And it's like, to be honest with you, I look at some of these people and I've said, I think these people are unemployed. I think that they're just down here to lobby for this one issue. I talked with a person and he says, I'm retired from the state of Texas and I'm down here and I use my retirement to screw with the state. What he said. Or I don't know if it was a he or a she, because I just couldn't determine what the natural state of this person was. But I mean, that's what that person was down there to do.
Yeah. So look, it's I don't think that people understand the calculations that elected officials sort of go through. If you personally show up to Austin, like you make the 2.5, 3 hour drive down there, and you just show up, you talk 2 minutes, and just share a personal story about a law that you care about.
Yeah.
They count that as 10,000 people being against the law. Because very few people will drive down there that feel just as strongly as you do.
Yeah, and it's a pain too.
When you send a handwritten letter, they count it as 2,000 people. When you send an email, they count it as 1,000 people. And when you do a phone call, they count it as 500 people. Because they know that many of these people are simply not going to contact them. They just won't vote for them next time.
Yeah.
So your physical presence is outrageously important.
Yeah.